I also I also have Talina Bath. Talina, are you there?
I am. Welcome,
Uh,
everybody.
Welcome. So Talina's going to kind of be in the background, muted for a little bit. She's running some controls for me since it's a good size group today and helping make sure we get all the questions answered and that everything goes well. Just a few housekeeping things as we get started. As I mentioned previously, everyone is on mute. That really is just to help cut down on background noise and make sure everyone can hear. I mentioned previously, and a number of you have already tested the Q&A interface with your Zoom controls. If you have a question as we're going through, please type in your question there. We'll have time for a question and answer at the end. And then Talina's on the line. She can see these on her end as well. So between the two of us, both of us have work support as well as being part of the education team. So we'll make sure to get your questions answered as best we can. And then she has already hit the record button for us. So this webinar is being recorded, which means that tomorrow, roughly about 24 hours after we wrap today, you will get a recording of this webinar sent to your email, so you can review it again later, or you can share it. And then we usually post a updated recording on our website as well, so you've got it to refer back to later. So we're happy to have you on board and have you here. So now we're going to talk about recitals. You'll hear me more out of habit than anything refer to it consistently as recital, but I just want to let you know this can be used for concerts, it can be used for galas, for showcases, things like that. I'll talk a little bit more of how to customize that in a minute. Before we get into that though, excuse me, I wanted to go ahead and just remind you, I mentioned at the top of the call that I would be in Toronto doing a training at the end of October. That is one of our Beyond the Basics trainings. If you have not joined us in one of our things before, one of our classroom trainings, we'd love to have you there. We've got one more basics class that's held in Huntersville, North Carolina, right outside of Charlotte. Next week, we have a few more spots in that. That's our last one for 2018. It's a 2-day kind of start from scratch thing. And then we've got 3 more Beyond the Basics coming up. We've got Toronto, Austin in November, and then Atlanta on Friday, day after tomorrow, or right outside of Atlanta. And then what I'm most excited about is our Boost User Conference in Vegas, our West Conference in November. Talina and I will be there as a couple of the trainers. You can come meet Jackrabbit staff. It's 3 days of fun and learning in Vegas. We'd love to see you there. You can find all of these on our main Jackrabbit website if you click on support and education, there's a whole page of classroom trainings. And then a couple of other things I want to point out. What's happening with Jackrabbit? How do you know what's going on? We've got a fantastic Facebook users group. Go to Facebook, do a search for Jackrabbit software users. If you're not a member, please click that join button and answer those few questions. We've got staff on the ready to verify that you're a client and then get you approved. We've got a Twitter account. I think today, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have Instagram per se, but we've taken over UDMA's Instagram for the day, so you can find us posting shout outs on there because that's the trade show we're going to this weekend. And then YouTube, for those of you who didn't pick it up when Talina said hello, Talina is our fantastic, fabulous in-house video person. So all of those videos on our YouTube channel, or the majority of the recent ones, are Talina's. And so we're excited to have that as part of our learning option for you. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll have some extra fun looking there as you're going through. And then Next, I want to point out this one other thing. I'll show you this in the database. Check your intercom database in database messages. You should recognize this little intercom messenger. It's down in the bottom right-hand corner of your home page in your database. I'll point it out as soon as we take a peek at the database. But always click on that if you've got new notices pending, you'll have a little red circle with like a 1 or a 2 or a 3. So click on that for any upcoming important announcements that we want to release out to you. We use all of these methods to get you information about upcoming trainings, new enhancements. We have some fantastic things coming out for the last quarter of 2018, and some of those are going to be debuted for the first time at the Boost User Conference. So we're excited to share these with you. All right, an agenda for today. We're going to talk about your help center and support, where you can get things from. If you haven't played with this before or used Recital before, once we get done with this call, then we're going to actually go through and create a recital, and I'm going to show you how to export your data and look at the reports that you have, and then we're going to have time for question and answer. So if everybody is really ready to go, we're going to go ahead and pop into the database. And if you'll look right down in my bottom right-hand corner, there is my intercom app. If I click on that just within my training database, it's going to give you, there's information on the Boost User Conference right there. So this is a list of upcoming webinars, additional information. So this is a great place for you to always keep up with current information as we're going along. All right, so Talina, I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute because I'm just realizing with us switching who's in charge of the hosting, I don't have the poll option anymore. Do you see it on your end?
I do.
Would you be willing, I want to poll you guys to get an idea of who's out there. So we've not tried this before, so I can't see what she sees. We're actually in 2 different cities. So would you be willing to, oh look, launch that poll? Can you guys see it? All right, look, she's so fast. I'm still talking and it's already out there. All right, so you guys go ahead. Do you see him voting, Talina?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I don't see that one. So this is a learning experience for both of us.
Okay,
right.
Just waiting for a few more participants to vote.
Awesome. All right, and Talina, I'm going to let you give the ballpark rather than, I guess you can share it too if you'd like. I just can't see what they're doing on my end.
That's all right. We're still waiting for about 25% of the people to participate. So as soon as they wrap that up, we'll give you a summary of the responses.
All right, so if you don't mind, while we're holding, go ahead and click those radial buttons if you haven't. The main thing, I'm just kind of getting an idea of how many of you have already used it, and then how many recitals or concerts you typically have during the year and when you do it. We're finding, depending on the industry, it can vary when they are and how many you have. Some organizations have 1 or 2 a year, and some have 15 a year, depending on what they're doing and how they're scheduling things. All right, Talina.
So here we go. So how many people are currently using the Jackrabbit Recital module? 40% said yes, and we have 36% saying no, not yet, but I want to get started.
Fantastic.
Yes. How many recitals or concerts do you typically have during the year? 62% said 1 to 2. 21% said 3 to 4, 12% said 5 to 7, 2% said 8 to 10, and 3% said 10 or more.
All right, that's what I was wanting to know. All right, that's fantastic. All right, what about the last question? And
the last question is, when do you typically hold your recitals or concerts? I'll just give you a scenario here. We have 34% come in as December, 14% said April, 36% said May, 58% said June, and there's some other stragglers of November, etc. So
okay, fantastic. Okay, so thank you so much. So if you would stop sharing that. Oops, super. All right, so that gives me an idea of what you guys are doing. Thank you for playing. Now you've had a little fun today. It needs to be Friday, right? So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into Tools, Edit Settings. And Tools, Edit Settings is going to be where you can customize the name of your module. It typically will default to recitals module. Previously, up until I think it was sometime last year, it was always recitals module, but now you have the ability to customize that. Right now I've kept mine as recitals because it works with my head and keeps things nice and easy. But if you are a child care center and it's not really a recital, it's a parent showcase or a concert, music studios a lot of times will do galas and things like that. So sometimes it will help with that as well. So it's nice to kind of have that as an option. All right, so you can go in and customize that there. And now just make sure you save your changes if you change it. And then you're going to go to events, list recitals, or list showcase, or list gala, whatever you've renamed it. So we're going to go in today and we're going to look at one. We're actually going to build one from scratch. And I want to show you, it's really pretty simple. We have had, typically this was created in mind and typically used by dance studios, but we're finding more and more as people play with it. We do have gymnastics schools that use it for fun meets. We have child care centers that use it for like the little end of year parent thing they do with all the little kids. We have some dance studios using it to organize picture day. So think outside of the box, look at the functionality of it, and then see what else you can do with it. One of the things I really love, I have a background in theater, both on the stage and behind the scenes, and one of the things I love, some of the reports I'll show you just are fabulous because it gives you the ability to get your theater staff on stage and your on the same page, and get your volunteers on the same page where you're providing everybody information quickly and easily. So to create a new recital, it is simply as easy as starting with create new recital. You're going to give it a name. I'm going to do this just because I know everyone will know what it is. We're going to call this one Frozen. We're going to go with our nice little movie, new Broadway show theme, and we're going to pick a date for it. We're going to make this a winter recital, and we're going to put it on the 15th. And all you're doing when you create it initially is give it a name and give it a date, and then save it, and then all of a sudden it's going to appear in your list of recitals. So when you first click on it, you are able to go right into the recital editor. You're starting off with a blank sheet. You're building it from scratch. So the very first thing I typically do is go in and enter the start time. We're going to make it at 7 p.m. and the end time is going to be 9:30 p.m. You can add in a description if you'd like. That's an internal use field only. So, and then you can go in. We're going to talk about the performance gap just a minute. I want to go ahead and point out, and I want to jump in right now and answer a question. We had a question come in, what if your recital has multiple dates? Well, that's a fantastic question. The way that works ideally is you're going to go through and build your first recital first. So we'll get Frozen done first, and then let me go ahead and close it here because it already exists. You've got this little copy icon right here that you can go ahead and copy this into a new recital on a different date. So maybe you've got one on Friday. I know I have a kid that danced and they did 4 or 5 in a weekend. So they would have like a Friday night and a Saturday at 10 a.m. and a Saturday at 2 p.m. and a Saturday at 7 p.m. and then sometimes 1 or 2 on Sunday as well. So you can build and copy the shell of each recital, and then you're able to just copy the shell and add the classes individually. If it's the exact same set, you wouldn't need to worry about it. You can just click on copy and it's going to do that. It gives you the option to copy recitals only and maybe the empty performances and with the classes and students performing. So you've got some options there as you're going. So I want to go ahead and point that out ahead of time. So let's go ahead back to, we're going to build Frozen. Now, there's something here called a performance conflict gap. And what that is a number of performances or dances that you want in between each of your kids performing. So in the recital module, Jackrabbit calls a performance each individual little dance. So if dance number 1, class comes out and they perform, and they go off stage. And then class number 2 comes out, they perform, and they go off stage. So performance 1 is going to be your first class, performance 2 is going to be your second class. And what the performance conflict gap does is if little Susie is in 3 classes, it's going to give you an alert that says, hey, if you put this performance conflict gap as 2, it's going to alert you if she's in less than 2 dances close together. So if she's in 2 back to back, it would show up as a conflict gap. It's not going to resolve it for you. You have to do that yourself by dragging and dropping and moving the order of the dances, or you're going to have to, hope she's a kid that can quick change. But I'll show you a little bit more of what that looks like once we've got some classes and some students added in, because I'm sure the way we are adding them today, I will have plenty of them. So we've added the performance conflict gap. You've got a Save Changes button in the top left-hand corner. Don't forget to hit that. That's probably my biggest thing, is I'll forget to do that every once in a while. Make sure you do that. And then I just want to point out, we're going to look at all of these buttons at the top after we built our recital out. I want to point out these controls right here within the recital editor itself. Add is going to be how you add each performance or individual dance or piece to your recital. You can delete them. View refresh conflicts, we're going to use that in just a minute, and then we can expand and collapse all. And the one I really want to point out is refresh rosters. Anytime you go in to adjust something or adjust something, or maybe if you're going to print a new report, you want to make sure you refresh rosters, because that's going to be what hits the picks up the students who've enrolled after, or students who've dropped. That's going to be what's going to give you the most current roster in the classes that have been added. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click add, and we're going to start adding some performances. And y'all are just going to have to bear with me for a minute, because I want to show you how to do this from scratch, but I also want to show you how quickly it can be. So y'all just have to deal with my types or slow typing for a minute. So we're going to do first the name of the piece, and then you can add in the song. A lot of times with this particular piece, a lot of times the name of the performance is the name of the song. And it can be the same. You can type it twice if you'd like to. Every once in a while, though, it might be, the name of the piece might be ABC Medley, and the song is something very specific, ABC 123 by the Jacksons. So you can go ahead and differentiate if you like. You'll see where these come out on the different reports, and you can make the preference for what you'd like. What I also want to tell you or encourage you to use is the length of time. This is going to be the length of the piece. And what I like about that is it's going to give you, there's a report we'll look at a little bit later where it's going to give you a tally of your anticipated run time just based on the length of the music you have. So we save that, and then all of a sudden we've got the performance name, the song, and the length of time. So we're going to just keep adding a few more. I'm going to get these in here. Y'all just hold tight. All right, and y'all all know this one. See, I did this on purpose because you're all going to be singing Frozen songs later, right? All right, and we're just going to go right there so you can see what it is. And I'm going to add just a couple more, and I want to add enough just so you can see what the conflict gaps look like, because we're going to play with those for a little bit too. All right. we're going to do one more. All right, it's got to be Let It Go, right? Now you got to sing that one all day. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save those. So now you've added your performances, and it's going to be time to add your classes. So you can add as many of these as you want. One of the things that you'll find, play with it a little bit more, see how it appears. I've worked with a number of different orgs that depending on your preference, some will do a whole recital for Act 1 and a separate recital for Act 2. And then some actually put in a performance called intermission. So you'll be able to choose which way works best for you. I see benefits to both. I don't think there's really a right or wrong with that. So play with it a little bit and see what works best with you. All right, so now we're going to go in and add classes. And one of the things I do is I slide this over. I am in a test training database, so there's a lot of classes in here. It's meant for a number of different things. So there's more information than I'm thinking most of you will have in your database. If you notice, I've got multiple locations here. Unless you physically have multiple facilities or multiple locations, you're not going to see as many. So within that respect, when we add your classes, you've got to know where your classes are. I've kind of played with this a little bit, so I'm going to be adding some classes from my cheer location, from my dance location, and from my swim location, just because I know I've got classes with a good population in there. So you click on your location that you want, and then you go to the class you want. I know my cheer, these are set by your category 1s. And I'm going to slide this over a little bit more, and I'm going to show you why. The reason I like to slide that over is I know in my cheer category 1 I have multiple classes, and if I slide it over just far enough to see, I can see which classes have actual enrollments in it, those with the number in the parentheses. In this particular database, the reason you want to know this, right now I have a winter session created that's not open for enrollment yet, but the classes are there, so they're showing 0 enrollment. So I want to make sure when I add a class that I'm adding the correct class with the students in it. So when you're adding the classes, all you're going to do is just drag and drop, and you'll see it populates under there. So I'm going to pick another one with students, and I'm just dragging and dropping. These are some privates. We're going to put them. And do you want to build a snowman? And all right, and now I also know within my cheer location I've got a few category 1 of tumbling classes, so we're going to add those. So again, I'm just dragging and dropping, and the intro to tumbling, you know those cute little babies have to be in Let It Go. All right, so now we've got the cheer location set, and I want to go in and I want to add some from my dance location. My ballet category 1 has some students, so all you're doing to add your students is dragging and dropping. And if you look, I don't have a lot of performances. Now you can see I'm adding extra classes to songs with classes already in them. That is how you're able to add multiple classes to one individual performance. So if you maybe have 2 little intro classes, one meets on a Wednesday, one meets on a Friday, but they're going to be in the same performance piece, you're just going to add their individual classes to the same performance piece together. All right, and I have a couple of jazz classes, or a jazz class. We're going to add that one here. And then I think I have a lyrical. And we're going to make it nice and busy here. All right, and then that's it for my dance location, and my swim location has just a couple. So I'm showing you that you can do this you can add as many as you need. So I've got a few more. We're going to add bubble blowers to Let It Go to, because they're going to have a good time. And floaters. All right, so we're going to stop with that. So now I've added all my classes. Don't need those anymore. Kind of, I like to go ahead and collapse those down just to make it a little bit visually easier. You can expand this back out. Now, this is what the expand and collapse all button has. If you expand all, now you're actually able to see the individual names of the students within the class. Maybe in this specific Let the Sun Shine On, we know that Julie is not going to be here. She's going to be out of town that night, so we uncheck her, and it knows that she's not in recital, and it will not include her name on the report. Now, at this time, make sure you save changes. At this time, there is not a way to flag students who are in a recital. So what I recommend you do is create a student user-defined field. If you've not looked at those before, those are under Tool. Let me get this out of the way. Those are under Tools. Edit settings and user defined fields. You can create up to 5 family, 5 student ones. And in this actual database, I actually have one that says is student and recital. You can make that a required question so that they have to answer either in the portal or a brand new family coming in through web registration if you want. And it's a great way to keep tabs on who's in your recital, because you can run a report on that later. If it's just straight for who's going to appear in your reports up here, just uncheck it, and that's all you've got to do. And you're able to see all of the individual information. Once you've kind of gone through, made sure everything's great, and again, I recommend you doing this before the recital week to make sure everything looks correct. I'll show you some additional little reports in a few minutes that are a great resource for verifying information as well. Once you're done with that, you can collapse it. Well, now when we click View Refresh Conflicts, it tells me there are 23 conflicts. It says Ariel Boyd is performing in A Little Bit of You, which is number 2. And, ooh, I can't spell. Want to build a snowman. Do you want to build a snowman? Thank you guys for not pointing that out in the Q&A while I was typing quickly. So, in 2 of them back to back. And this is where you get to decide what you want to do. It's not going to resolve the conflict for you, but it gives you the alert that, hey, there's something there. If Ariel is 6 years old and is having to change from a little fringe skirt and tap shoes into a tutu and ballet shoes, everybody knows that's not going to happen, not back to back. But if Ariel is 16 and has been dancing since she was in a fringe skirt and tap shoes, she may be able to do a quick change on stage right in 20 seconds and it be okay, and you can leave it as is. If you want to move it, all you've got to do is click on it, and you're going to drag and drop it, and you want to drag it, and now A Little Bit of You is the 4th piece instead of the 2nd, and then you can refresh your conflicts. Well, now there's 24. So again, it's not going to solve it for you. It's just going to give you the ability to kind of go in and look and decide if you want to do anything about it. So you're able to use the View Refresh Conflicts as you're going through. You can make it wider, you can make it smaller. You've got some options to play with that there. All right.
And just adding to that, Tammy, also underneath conflicts, those are actually all links. So if you were to click on where it says Ariel Boyd, it would open it up for you.
Fantastic. Thank you for pointing that out, Talina. So again, that's going to show, it's going to highlight, and it's going to actually pull up the class specifically. So you may decide at that point you don't want Ballet 2 to be in that anymore. So you can, are you sure you want to delete that selected item? And then you've got that out of there. I'm going to leave her there for now though. Awesome. Thanks, Talina. Okay, so we've got this done. We're going to remind you, refresh often. That's going to be what's going to catch your drops and your additions as you're going through. Now we've got our basic recital built, I want to show you some things that you can actually do with that information. And you guys notice I went through my start time and end time are missing because guess what I forgot to do that I told you not to do? Anybody know? I forgot to save changes. All right, now we're going to save changes. Now we're going to look at these super, super duper buttons at the top. These are probably some of my favorite. This is absolutely one of my favorite modules in Jackrabbit, particularly because a lot of people don't know that it will do all the things that it does. So one of the first things we're going to look at is the print summary. If you click on this and it opens it, the print summary gives you a summary of everything you've just typed in your recital. Remember I told you to put in each individual performance, song time. Well, now you've got a total performance length of 18 minutes and 12 seconds. That's going to give you an idea. Those of you who've been in the theater and worked on stage for a while, that's going to give you an idea by the time you throw in your on stage, off stage time, and just your transitions. It's going to give you a great way to estimate your show length without it being just a total guess if you're doing something unusual for the first time. This report also gives you total students in performance 12, 17, 9. So you've got information based on how many people should be there. What I like about this one, these are all exportable, so you can export them to Excel, export them to Word. What I love about this is export it out, print it out, give it to your crew on stage right, give it to your crew on stage left, and now they're going, okay, first piece I should have 12 students here. If they see 35, they know that's way too many. Then you've got somebody who can say, okay, anybody not needed, get off stage. Or if they have 12 and they only have 2, you know kids are missing, somebody needs to be on the alert. You can also, when you export this to Excel, add columns at the end, and you can make it your light cue sheets, your set cue sheets, your prop cue sheets. Your theater staff is going to think you are a genius because now everybody's gotten the same information. They know their performance time. They know when and where things need to be without having to scratch it all out on their own notes. Everybody's on the same page, so to speak. So we're going to go back. That's your print summary. Now I want to look at the print detail. Print detail is the exact same report, except this time it gives you the individual names of your students. So this is a great thing to give to a volunteer back in the black box or the green room, lining kids up and say, okay, a little bit of you is next. I need Diane and Taylor and Autumn and Olivia and Maria, a parent or a staff member getting people lined up and ready to go, and a check mark for who's missing or who you need to be on the lookout for as you're getting things ready to go ahead of time. This one can also be exported. You can use this one if you choose to add the columns for costuming to keep track of all the kids that need to be in this one costume. So you've got some options there as well. I'm going to pull that editor right back up. And now we're going to look at the check-in, check-out sheet. This one, I'm going to go ahead and run it with the default. It's going to do this alphabetically by last name, first name, check-in and check-out columns. You can choose what you like for that. This is a fantastic sheet of paper to give to one of your volunteers to go through and make sure everybody's even there. Older dancers and performers, I have seen this done where it's posted on a wall and you've got a staff member to make sure everybody's checked in and checked out, but you can also hand it to someone specifically and say, okay, your job is to make sure everybody's here. All right, let's go back and let's go back to that recital editor again. Now we are going to look at the export program to Word. So this one is going to, oh, I don't want to, I guess it is going to make me, I better pay attention. It's supposed to open automatically. All right, so let's go to go ahead and open all of this one. I'm going to have to bring it over from my other screen because it's coming up over there. Now you've got your Word document with all the kids' individual names on it. So no more should you be typing each individual student's name into the program. You can export it to Word. Even if you don't use Word as your software to design the program, you can come in and copy the names of the performances and the students in them. And this is another great tool. Save it to a PDF, post it in your facility, email it out to the parents and say, okay, you've got till Friday at 5 p.m. to verify the spelling of your child's name and the performance pieces. And if they forget to let you know at that point, then, you've kind of done your due diligence. Because I think many of us have been in the situation where a kid was left off or a kid's name was misspelled. So you've got now, not only do you not have to type them from scratch, now you've got a way that your parents can see it and approve it ahead of time. Just the basic content. And again, any kid that was unchecked as not being in the recital, then that's going to keep their information from appearing here. All right, let's go back to that recital editor one more time. Now there's the print family detail, and this one I really love too. So when we run this report, what this report does, you've all had the question of, okay, I don't know what order my kids' dances are in. I'm not sure what they're doing. Well, this provides you that, and it does it by family. So families with multiple kids, Dave and Diane, the mom and dad are going to know that Dave is in this piece and Diane is in Diane is in these pieces in that order. So you're able to go through and look at multiple things and see, okay, this is what Amy and Rachel need together. This is what Chloe and Luke need together. So again, export it to a PDF, send it to your parents, or just post it in your facility. Now your parents have some additional information as well. So it's really great tool. One other little thing I want to point out, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything else right here. You also have within here your help button. If you click, that's going to launch your the help center right from within the recital editor yourself. You always have access to it in the database, but you can be in your editor on that separate screen and still have quick access. So if you go in and you type in just recital, you're going to be able to see Recital Reports, a video overview. Talina's done a great video kind of giving you an update recital that you, or an overview of recitals that's been updated recently, so you can go in and get a great overview for that if you want to learn more visually. If you want other articles, there's additional information down at the bottom where you can search specifically as well. I want to go back to our edit setting, or our main database, sorry, and we're going to go back to list recitals again. Everything we did specifically was for this one recital. Well, you have, we talked about the family detail report within Frozen, but I want to show you one more report. It's called the multi-recitals family detail report. And I'm going to kind of stretch the date out of here. I know someone had asked earlier how you do it if you have more than one recital. Well, if you do the multi-recital family detail report, for those of you who have multiple in a weekend, biggest question I used to remember hearing was, okay, Susie and Johnny are both in recitals this weekend and their grandparents are coming into town. Which show should they go to? Well, that's a lot for you to keep track of, particularly if you're a larger facility. So now you can go in and you can put in a date range. Now, for this particular one, I don't have, let me see, we're going to do the one I just created, the December 15th. And we're going to go back and hit that November or September 1st one I have created. I think I have some kids that are in both. So there we go. And we're going to run that report. Dun, dun, dun. Hang on. All right, Talina, are you seeing me? Did I miss something? I deleted a recital earlier today, and I really hope I didn't delete the one I needed. I bet you I did. All right, so we're going to fix it this way. Hold tight. So we're going to copy Frozen. Since y'all asked about this anyway, we're going to do Frozen 2. The sequel has come out. And we're going to copy recitals and performances. So now I have a Frozen and a Frozen 2. And we're going to go on Frozen 2. We're going to change the date to Saturday. We're going to save it. Da, da, da. And we're going to refresh. And now I'm going to run my multifamilies detail report for the 15th and the 16th. So now what this report is going to do is it's going to show the same Dave and Diane, and Frozen is the first show. Frozen 2 is the second show. And again, I direct copied, so it should be the same, but it's going to differentiate your first show for Diane and your second show for Diane. So any of these families that have multiple kids, now their parents can go in and see. And you'll also see the importance of why you should give your shows a little bit of a different name if you're going to run a multi-report, just so it's a little bit easier to differentiate when you run this report. So you can see Chloe's parents, if they're looking, Chloe is in 2 things for show 1, 2 things for show 2. Luke's in 2 for show 1, 2 for show 2. So they're good. Whichever one they come to, they're going to see similar things. Ariel, though, Ariel's in a lot more than Autumn is. So they'd be able to look at it and say, okay, we want to make sure we come to the correct show that way. So just another nice little option there. All right, and then another thing to point out here, if you are not aware or have not heard, we partner with 22Tix online recital ticketing, and you can find additional information here. We do have an on-demand recording of a webinar they did with us a few months back on our website that you can check out if you're not sure what they offer. If you click on the button within our website, it's going to take you to their main to a landing page for Jackrabbit customers. If you are a client with them, you can log in right here. If you're not, you can register with them. But I definitely encourage you. They'll be at our Vegas conference. If you've not talked with them yet and want more information, you can always reach out to them. But they offer the ability for you to sell your tickets online for your families. They can do sitting charts or not sitting charts. They offer some other cool options as well. So I think, all right, Talina, what have I forgotten? Is that the bulk of it?
That's really the bulk of it. I would just point out one more thing. Once
Mm-hmm.
you've created, for those people who have 10 or more recitals, you're going to have a long list of recitals after a period of time. And you can use the search criteria up here where, if you can point to it for me, there you go. And so you can enter in a date at the top, just above those buttons, a description, a recital name in case you're looking for a certain recital, and that'll help you locate those quickly.
Thank you for that, Talina. I usually start deleting before I get that many in mind. So that is a great point for those of you who do lots of them. So, and you're able to kind of go through it. It's a lot of fun. So we're excited. All right, so let's look. If you've got questions, I see some in. So if you've got questions, go ahead and start sending them to the Q&A panel. All right, so Courtney asked, does that mean you want to keep 2 performances apart? So to speak, I want her in 1 and 3 and not 1 and 2, so she has 2 to breathe. Exactly. So that performance gap is how many performances you want in between when it alerts you that they're in performances close to one another. I think that's the best way to say it. All right, I only have events. Where do I get into the recital editor? I have Jackrabbit Cheer. Does that make a difference? It does not, and that is a great question. If you're not seeing under the events, if you don't see list recitals, that is a permission. So you want to go to Tools, Edit Settings, and you want to go to, oh, I went to Tools, Edit Settings. You want to go to Tools, Manage Users and Permissions, and you want to click on your specific user ID and look at user permissions. If you do a search, just in the top, type in recital, spell better than me, please. You want to make sure that you have the ability to edit and view recitals, has access to delete recitals. You want to make sure both of those boxes are checked, save changes, and then make sure you log out and log back in for the permission to take effect. Great question. All right, does this apply to a strictly classical ballet program wanting to set up a performance schedule for the Nutcracker or other full-length ballets? It would seem to get complicated. Kim, that is a great question, and I'm going to say it depends. I absolutely think it can. If you notice down here, it's not meant for the full ballet, but I had a Nutcracker ball built that was an order, and I think I ended up moving things around because of performance conflicts when I was playing with this one. But it really is just a list of the Nutcracker dances in order, and then you can add your classes to it just like normal. We definitely do. I've seen it used by a studio for the Nutcracker, multiple places for Nutcracker. I've seen it for Cinderella. I've seen it for I feel like it was Esmeralda, some other kind of more full-length things. You just have to get the names of the songs in the order that you want them in. If you have follow-up questions for that, maybe send it in if that didn't answer your question specifically, but definitely you can do that. I do not have classes in the same number, so do I have to still do the song and then drop them in? It would be easier to just bring the classes over without the song. You don't have to have the song necessarily, but you do have to have the performance. You've got to have at least this waltz of the snowflakes here to put them into. When I click on that, you don't necessarily have to have the song per se here, but you would have to have the performance name. Otherwise, there's nothing to drop them into. Is there a way to add columns to the check-in, check-out sheet? We'd like to collect an emergency cell number at the time of drop-off. Talina, not to my knowledge. Do you know of a
yeah.
way?
No, yes.
Wait, did I miss that?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, wait. Oh,
go check into the create check-in, check-out sheet.
Yep, you're right. It's one of the things, it was because I went with the default. Hang on.
It's right here. No, you're on that screen. Oh, you're going to go into another
I was going back to my original one. It is on down towards the.
Yes. So you can add, well, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong report. Yeah, I am thinking of the wrong report. Check-in column, check-out column. I'm sorry, my apologies.
Okay, so dang it. I was hoping you knew something I didn't and was going to.
I'm thinking of the costume module.
The sizing worksheet one that we export.
My apologies.
So no, Caitlin, I am so sorry. Not at this point, not at this time, but that's a great thing to use your send idea button for. If you haven't seen our idea portal, those of you who submit those, you can go vote up people's ideas as you send them in. Just to note, for new people, we use a check-in, check-out by class, not by whole recital. So one of the things I didn't show you, I have it by whole recital. You can do it by performance, and you can do a page break, or you can do it one class at a time and do it that way as well. Thank you for sharing that. Are you able to add the oh, it means it needs to be the end of the day for me. Are you able to add the choreographer or teacher? Not at this time, where it would be visible for your families or your other, or even yourself to see. So definitely another great send idea. Any Jackrabbit plans to provide Mac exports? I can export with Microsoft products, but it's a pain. Not that I'm aware of. Talina, have you heard anything on that? I thought most everything went to a
No,
CSV file,
that's correct. Yep.
but these do not, if I'm not mistaken. It is just straight export or Word or Excel or Word.
That's a great suggestion. I would suggest using your idea portal to submit that. So
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Oh, wow, y'all are asking hard questions. Whoo! For the check-in, check-out, can it be organized by performance, i.e. dance, versus a list as a whole? I think I answered that one. We'll go back and look at it one more time. So for your check-in, check-out, you can do a performance name here one at a time, and then your display order, it can be by performance. So if you want to take a little quick peek at that. Oh, hang on, I did not hit that. I moved my mouse before I finished clicking it. I'm going to have like 25 recital editors open before I finish today. Let's see. Alphabetical, group by performance. There we go. And then when we create the check-in, check-out, now it's got it. This is the first piece, check-in, check-out. This is the second piece, check-in, check-out. So hopefully that helps. All right, what happens if a student changes classes after they have been added into the recital? Will the system automatically adjust them in the recital? Great question, and no, it will not. Remember, that is where or why you want to go back into your recital editor and make sure to click refresh rosters. When you transfer that student in their previous class, they will have been dropped from it and they'll have been added to their new class. So refreshing rosters should help with that. All right, next question. I would love to be able to export the class name and teacher when I export the program to Word. Can this please be done? Okay, fantastic question. Please submit that in an idea through the idea portal. And I'll give you guys a heads up too. You guys are asking enough unique ones and new ones that I've heard in a while that I will make sure to export this report and send it over to our product team just so they can see the kind of questions that you guys are asking, because you're asking a lot of fantastic ones. But please, please, please submit it to that idea report or idea portal, and you guys vote on one another's ideas. Okay, what reports will display notes? Unfortunately, none of them. So just keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons I typically don't put much in there. Is there an option forthcoming of integrating ticket sales through 22tix and Jackrabbit so we can keep track in a central location versus having to log on to 22tix? Whitney, not that I know of at this time. I worked in a trade show a couple weeks ago with Brandy, who's one of our regional sales reps with 22tix, and I'll see her again this weekend. Jackrabbit in and of itself, because our primary focus is kind of classroom management, we integrate with other partners who already do a great job at it. So you would keep the separate account through them, at least for now. I've not heard anything on the horizon otherwise. Just excuse me, just to clarify, if you have a recital with 32 numbers, typically one song per class, you'd have to build 32 performances and add each class. Yes, that is correct if you wanted it to appear at each one as its own separate individual performance. I missed something on multi-recital report. What's the purpose of that report? The multi-recital report, let's go back and look at that one specifically here, is that one serves the function. It's really helpful for organizations that do more than one or two recitals, particularly in a weekend. So say you have a performance on Friday night, and then Saturday you have a 10 a.m., a 2 p.m., and a 7 p.m., and then a Sunday you have a 2 and and a 6. That would be 3, 4, 5, 6 shows in one weekend. What the multi-report would do is when you clicked on it, you would put in the date range for your whole weekend, and it would show you the reports of each show broken down by family, all in one place. So you could see, okay, on Friday we've got these shows, on Saturday we've got these 3 shows, Sunday we've got these. All right, is there a way to email performers through the recital editor? There is not, and I think that is a fantastic idea. Talina, what do you know?
I know that I created a video that specifically speaks to how to email performers that are in recitals, and it gives you all kinds of tips on there about how to set up different ways to capture who's in a recital, and then using the families for the email text families in order to export them, etc. So if you look in the Help Center underneath recitals and how to contact performers, that should come up in there.
All right, I'm looking to see. Is it titled Contact Reformers?
I could find it through the main menu if you.
Oh, you want me to go? Oh. Okay, see,
Yeah.
I like click this way, the little hamburger menu. This is the way I like it anyway. I'm old school like that. Click on Recital Management. And then
It's work with recital programs, I
work with recital
believe.
programs. Let's see what we got.
Or maybe not.
Nope. Oh,
See, I always go
okay.
through the main menu. So if you
I
click on the
know.
Help Center words instead,
The Help Center,
up at
tell
the
me
top,
where?
to the right slightly. You're learning something new every day.
I
Where it says Help
know.
Center.
We do. And you guys are learning this in real time too. We both use it very differently, evidently.
Yeah, if you click on the actual words where it's Help Center in light blue,
Uh-huh.
right there, it'll take you to the home page every single time. Click
Uh-huh.
on Help Articles, right there. Yep. Scroll down to Recitals. There, to the left.
Recital management. Gotcha.
Let's see, and it should be. Where did she hide it? We have our great Help Center editor, and I'm not sure where she located that video. Work with
Let's see what we can find. All right,
Mhm.
we're going to do this, and then we'll get right back to your questions. Let me see.
Hmm.
Um, would it be? I don't know.
Oh,
Talina,
this
why
is a
don't you look for
struggle.
that and I'll
I'm
keep
gonna,
going with you,
yes,
you look for it and I'll keep going through questions. How's
that's a
that?
deal.
All right. So is there a way to email performers through the recital editor? Hold tight, Mary. We're looking. Technically, no, but we might have a workaround for you. So can you show us again how to edit the order of performances in the recital editor? Absolutely. So if we go right back to our recital editor, we're going to go back into Frozen. At changing the order, you really are just click on the one you want to move and you're moving it. I don't know if it shows up detailed enough for you on your screen. Like I can move it. It kind of gives me just a little highlighted line when it's right in between. I'm trying to move it between For the First Time and Forever and Let It Go. And I just drag and drop it. So just like you get the little cursor to move it this way, you don't get the same little arrows pointing, but you're just dragging and dropping. If I move it to the end, if it doesn't move, it just goes back to its regular place. But I get almost like a little faint dotted line when it's where it's supposed to be. So you're just dragging and dropping. All right. So we got that one. And you can add the choreographer and teacher in the performance name area. Yes, so you can add, thank you for pointing that out, Anthony. You can add the teacher and choreographer, or someone had asked about the choreographer and teacher in the performance name area. So when you go in to put it here, you can do Let It Go, Sandy, and you can do a teacher like that, and then Talina, choreographer. So you can add it in that way, but not a spot specifically for that. So you do have that as an option. Thank you for pointing it out. That's a really good distinction. So this is great for groups. Are there any ways to make scheduling a private music recital easier than creating each song as an individual number and then assign it to that individual student to it? Not at this time, Daryl, and I'm hearing that more and more, particularly as we're picking up more music clients, that again, when it was originally created, it was created for groups. So that's something, submit the idea, let them know that's what you're using it for so they know that it's a need. Talina, did I hear you? Do you have something?
I sure do. It's actually in the best practice articles section underneath the Make
Oh.
It Easy.
All right, so let's go back to, we're going back to our main help center and best practice articles
Yep.
and
In the Make
make
It
it
Easy,
easy. Is it this one?
it's called Working with Recitals and Costumes. You bet.
All right,
And
awesome.
my that's actually spells it all out in there. But then if you scroll down to the very bottom, that's where the video is located. Hope
Fantastic.
that helps you all.
Contact recital participants. So thank you so much for that, Talina. All right, so can you talk about the benefits of splitting the show into separate events? I'll have to say, for me personally, I don't know that it's a benefit necessarily than just more so than just a preference. I think one of the reasons I know only a couple of orgs that have done this. One of them is they just like to be able to keep it separately as Act 1, Act 2. I don't know. I hate to be vague with that, but it really is just a personal preference. I tend to like everything all together, and then I'll add one in performance in for intermission. But, you know, depending on how you're presenting it, it just may be a preference. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you on that. That might be a really great question. Join our Jackrabbit software users group on Facebook and post that out there. You know, hey, for those of you that use a recital module, do you prefer to do it all together or Act 1 and Act 2 separately, and ask them why. How do you deal with Act 1, presentation of awards, intermission, Act 2, finale? Again, this is a great question and kind of just a personal preference. You can actually set each part as its own individual recital. You can have Frozen Act 1, or you can have Frozen total with Act 1, you're not really going to be able to single out Act 1 within those first pieces, but you could have a performance piece called Presentation of Awards. It's going to take 15 minutes. Intermission is going to take 15 minutes. That's going to help you with your total run time of the show, but it's not going to display it out separately if that's what you're asking. I think that kind of helped maybe a little bit. Maybe if you want to ask for clarification, please do so, but really it's one of those you have to play with it and see what works best for you. Is there a way for families to see these reports within the portal? Fantastic question. No, not at this time. And I've not heard that it's coming yet, but I think that would be a great addition. Again, use that idea portal. But not yet. The only way they're going to be able to see it is if you print it and post it or export it to them. All right, next question. Going back to Beth's question regarding exporting class and teacher to Word document. When I name the performance, I call it, for example, Puppy Dogs, Pre-Jazz, Miss Megan. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Sandy. That is super. So you can include within the performance name the teacher title and choreographer or class name. Thank you, Sandy. Did you say there was a way to note if a student was in the recital or not versus clicking them in and out of the recital by class? Even I showed you how to use user-defined fields as a way to keep track of who's in a recital, but even if they answer no to the user-defined field, you're still going to have to go in when you add their class to the recital and uncheck that person's name. They're not related. It's just the user-defined field. You can run a report. You can actually go to students and search, and you can scroll down at the bottom and show student user defined fields to yes. If you do that, then you're able to see a list of everybody. My is student and recital is over here. These work like other spreadsheet columns. If you click once, it's going to sort it lowest to highest. If you click twice, it's going to sort it again, so you can see all the ones with yeses and nos in there. It just gives you a way to report on it. You don't have that otherwise. Where can we see performance notes which report? Great question, and unfortunately you cannot. And I did not figure that out until after I built my first recital and put a lot of notes in there and then realized I couldn't see them. They really are just to see with inside the editor. At this time, there's not a way to do that. Will there be an ability in the future to use the recital editor on an iPad, such as being able to choose classes to attach to a dance or edit the order? Not, you know what, I haven't heard. Have you, Talina?
I have not. I am sure eventually that will happen because that's a very high requested item. Again, I would suggest using the idea portals to submit that.
Yep, awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, that is it for our questions, and thank you. We got so excited about the topic, I didn't even realize we had gone over. Oh, I see a
Ooh,
couple more
one
questions.
more question, yes.
So I'm going to sneak in one more question. Thank you for those of you who have stuck it out the entire time. As I mentioned previously, this will be recorded, or it is being recorded, and you'll get the recording about 24 hours from now. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to support. For those of you who are unaware, and I'll get your last question in just a second, I want to point this out. You can go in and request a call and schedule a call if you haven't seen that yet. These are relatively new, and you can go in and, oops, I disappeared lost my help window. Do a quick chat when we're open and submit a ticket if you're not finding what you need through the Help Center. Okay, and then someone else is sharing, we create a class for each recital performance and enroll students so that families can see that information on their portal. You can put the show dates and times and also invoice easily, as well as email the class with any information. Thank you, Samantha, for sharing that. That's super helpful. All right, so I want to say thank you all for joining us, and thank you for almost everyone sticking around late. Thank you. This has been so much fun. We've got some more webinars coming up later this month. Talina's going to be doing one coming up. Talina, I'm drawing a blank. Are you doing costumes?
I'm doing costumes. Pray for me.
Yeah, next week,
My
Talina,
first
I'm
one.
actually out of the office next week, and she's going to be doing that one. Flying solo. So definitely, if you're interested in costumes and stuff, please join us for that one. And I think we've got some website integration and events and some other things coming up as well. So including the new discounting and prorating post-tuition fees. So we look forward to seeing you either in another webinar or in a classroom soon. Thanks so much for joining us. And the costume webinar, the last question snuck in, is it Thursday, Talina, at 1 p.m. Eastern?
Yes, I believe so.
It's Thursday at 1 p.m.
I think
Eastern.
it's the 10th. Is that, ooh, that's Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? I feel like it was Thursday. I feel like it's the
I do
11th.
too.
It's on our website. If you go to jackrabbitclass.com, click on support and education, down towards the bottom, there'll be a webinars link. It's on there and you can register directly from the website. So, but it's one day next week. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.